Bloodline is back. Roman and Jey reunite. Oba Femi's warning. The tribal chief returns. WWE's shocking alliance. What if the biggest WWE reunion we have been waiting for happened when nobody expected it? And what if Roman Reigns and Jey Uso coming back together wasn't just about friendship, but a warning to everyone standing in their way before Night of Champions? Because after what went down, one thing is clear: the Bloodline story is far from over. For weeks, WWE fans have been wondering about one major question. Can Roman Reigns and Jey Uso ever truly put the past behind them? Or is the damage between them too deep to repair? Well, after a shocking backstage moment following Raw, it looked like the impossible had happened. The tribal chief and main event Jey were standing on the same side again, and their target was none other than Oba Femi. Now, before we get too far into this, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you love breaking down the biggest WWE moments, because this situation has layers. And trust me, this is the kind of storyline where every small detail matters. WWE loves making us think one thing is happening, then suddenly flipping the entire board upside down like they're playing some kind of wrestling chess game. The atmosphere after Raw was already tense. Everyone knew Night of Champions was coming, and everyone knew that when Roman Reigns is involved, something major is usually waiting around the corner. You don't just hear Roman's name and think, oh, another normal night. No. With Roman, there is always a storm coming. But this time, the storm wasn't just Roman Reigns. It was Roman Reigns and Jey Uso together. And that alone was enough to make fans stop and ask, wait, are we really seeing this? Because if you remember the history between these two, this is not a simple reunion. This is not two old friends shaking hands and moving on. This is years of betrayal, loyalty, pain, and family drama all coming back into the spotlight. Jey Uso was once the man who stood beside Roman as his closest soldier. The person who understood the tribal chief better than almost anyone. He was the one who carried the weight of the bloodline, even when it started breaking him apart. But eventually, Jey had enough. He walked away. He rejected Roman's control. He chose himself. And that was one of the biggest moments in recent WWE history, because Jey wasn't just leaving a faction. He was escaping a situation that had changed him completely. So when fans saw Roman and Jey together again, the reaction wasn't just excitement. There was also suspicion. Because WWE fans know better. We have seen enough surprise reunions and shocking alliances to know that sometimes the person standing next to you today is the same person who might betray you tomorrow. Wrestling has trained us to trust nobody. Even the guy holding the door open might be setting up a super kick. But the big question became, why Oba Femi? Oba Femi has been making a name for himself as one of the most dangerous young forces in WWE. He carries himself differently. He has power, confidence, and the kind of presence that makes people pay attention. He's not someone you casually step in front of and expect things to go smoothly. And maybe that is exactly why Roman and Jey targeted him. Because taking down someone like Oba Femi sends a message. It says the bloodline is not looking back. It says they are not here to play defense. They are here to remind everyone why their name carries so much weight. The backstage attack instantly changed the mood heading into Night of Champions. Suddenly, people weren't just asking who would win or who would lose. They were asking something bigger. Is the bloodline truly back? And if they are, who can actually stop them? That's the scary part. Because Roman Reigns doesn't need to raise his voice to control a room. He doesn't need to run around making noise. His presence alone changes the energy. When Roman walks in, everyone notices. Even people who dislike him know they have to pay attention. And adding Jey Uso to that equation creates something even more interesting. Because Jey is not the same person he was before. He has grown. He has changed. He has become one of the most popular stars in WWE because fans connected with his journey. They saw him struggle. They saw him fight for his own identity. They saw him break away from Roman's shadow. So now seeing him potentially stand beside Roman again creates a complicated feeling. Some fans are celebrating. Some fans are worried. Some fans are probably sitting there saying, I knew it. I knew this family drama was never ending. And honestly, they might be right. The Bloodline story has always been about more than championships. It has always been about family, respect, power, and control. Every member had their own reason for staying. Every member had their own breaking point. Roman wanted loyalty. Jey wanted respect. And somewhere between those two things was where everything started falling apart. But what if this reunion is different? What if Roman finally understands that Jey is not someone he can control anymore? What if Jey isn't coming back as Roman's follower? What if he is coming back as an equal? That changes everything. Because a Bloodline with Roman as the leader and Jey as the emotional heart of the group is a completely different monster. And Oba Femi finding himself in the middle of that situation could be the biggest mistake anyone could make. The timing also makes this more interesting because Night of Champions is not just another event. It is the kind of stage where WWE loves creating unforgettable moments. The kind of night where alliances are formed, betrayals happen, and careers can change. So was this attack just a random act of aggression? Or was it carefully planned? That is the question. Roman Reigns has always been known as someone who thinks several steps ahead. Even when it looks like he's reacting, there is usually a bigger plan happening behind the scenes. And Jey Uso knows that better than anyone. He spent years watching Roman operate. He knows how Roman thinks. He knows how Roman manipulates situations. He knows how Roman turns pressure into power. So if Jey chose to stand beside him again, that decision cannot be ignored. There has to be a reason. Maybe Jey believes there is still something worth saving. Maybe there is unfinished business. Or maybe, just maybe, the two of them realized that their enemies are bigger than their differences. Because sometimes in WWE, the person you fight with the most is also the person who understands you the best. And that has always been the strange relationship between Roman and Jey. They can argue. They can fight. They can tear each other apart. But when the outside world comes after them, they always seem connected. That is what makes this story so interesting. It's not just about a faction. It's about two people who have a history nobody else can understand. Now the question is what happens next. Because Oba Femi is not going to forget this. A superstar like him doesn't just take an attack and move on. He is going to want revenge. He is going to want to prove that the Bloodline reunion doesn't scare him. And honestly, that is exactly the kind of conflict WWE needs. A young powerhouse looking to make his name against one of the biggest legends of this generation and the man who helped make the Bloodline famous. That is a collision waiting to happen. So let me know in the comments, do you think Roman Reigns and Jey Uso are really back together for good? Or is this just another chapter in the